Hello, I'll be explaining the first half of our mural board. So our mural board comes with a legend to tell you what symbols mean what, and what style boxes indicate what kind of loops. So in here we do have pre-existing skills, active skill loops, and then we also have the dark blue outline boxes for passive loops, meaning the player doesn't actually perform any actions, but it is a event that they do learn from consistently throughout the game. So when we start the game, we kind of assume that players know how to use a mouse and a keyboard, and we also assume that they know that using the mouse and keyboard in this game will perform actions. When they start the game, they'll be entering the launching stage, where they're launching their gear top, which in this case is just a fancy word for a spin top. The first loop that they may encounter is launching in the red zone, green zone, or yellow zone. So this is when they will assume, like, if I click the launch button when the indicator across the bar lands in the red zone, then my gear top will start spinning. They left click on the launch button, the system registers the click and then launches the gear top into the pit at a high velocity because this is in the red zone, and you'll see that through the animation that your gear top lands in the pit and starts spinning really fast. Then your mental model kind of updates saying clicking the launch button on the red zone will make the gear top spin at a fast rate. And this applies to the other two, however, green zone is a slow rate, and the yellow zone's a moderate, not too slow, not too fast rate. You'll learn from launching that launching differently depending when you click results in a different speed. You'll start learning that once your gear top launches and lands in the pit, that it'll start spinning and moving consistently within the pit, unless it's been interfered with the opponent's gear top, which then you start learning collision. If my gear top hits my opponent's gear top, then they will repel each other. You observe the event of them hitting each other. The system registers the two hitboxes touching or overlapping, accelerating the tops in different directions. You watch that through animation, and then you affirm that yes, if they hit each other, they will collide and repel each other. There are two outcomes in the game, losing and winning, and there's two events where that could happen. Um, for losing, your gear top could be ejected out of the pit, or it'll just stop spinning. This will be shown through a losing screen, which will update your mental model that yes, I will lose the game if my gear top stops spinning or is ejected out of the pit. You could also go through the winning side. Going through generally the same loops, however, occurs for the opponent's gear top, where your opponent will stop spinning or they'll be ejected out of the pit, and you'll instead see an animation of a winner screen rather than a loser screen. You'll start learning that throughout the game that losing is bad and winning is good, and that you'll start kind of wanting to learn ways to manipulate the gear tops to avoid losing and to continue winning. And that's when we enter the second part of the mural board.
So, I'm here to introduce the game mechanics of our design game, Gear to the Top. We have a special system of ammo, which is like the skills you can use onto the gear tops. You can move your mouse around the play area, and when your mouse is on the gear top, you can aim it with your mouse. And if you shoot without any ammo, there's nothing happen, and there's an arrow appears on the screen, because you can't do anything without the ammo. And there's no bullet like shooting out of their guns or something. And speaking of skills, like many card games, there's charges system. The aimos need to cost charge to use it. And for loading the charges, so if you see the charge bars around on the screen, there's the numbers of charges you can use right now. So charges starts from 0 to a maximum charge of 6 and charges every 3 seconds. And for using a charge, so if you have enough charges, you can shoot aimos onto the gear top, and a certain amount of the numbers of charges will deducted from the bar. And we already have like 3 designed aimos, and before shoot them, you need to select them. So when a certain ammo is available, you can see the animation of glowing around the card. And then you can click, let's say you want to use first ammo, you can click 1 on your keyboard, and the first card pops up. So you can now read the description of it and to decide whether you want to use it or not. So when you decide to use it, you can shoot it. And so you can aim it with your mouse and left click it onto the gear top so you shoot it. And the three aimos, the effects of them are: first is spin fill, so it can increase the speed of the ammo, and second one is a spin dampener, so this one can create a pool of glue on the ground, and it can decrease the speed of any gear tops that passes over it, And the third one is force field. This one will create an AoE area that appears around the gear top that you shoot on, and it can push it over other gear tops away. And when you finish shooting one ammo, you're coming back to the section of waiting for the charges to load and select the ammos and shoot them again. And also, the cost of charges for the three is 112. So basically, you are using the ammos anytime because it won't cost that fast and much.
Following the Mural Board, I'll be going over the testing plan of our game. The scope will be limited to studying how players understand the main mechanics, observing behavior related to strategic and intuitive use of the three ammo types offered, as well as how supporting mechanics such as aiming and the charge meter aid in their gameplay experience. The purpose of this research is to determine whether our players receive clear visual feedback, can react appropriately by using ammo for its intended purpose, and feel that their actions have caused a meaningful impact on the outcome. We would like to discover future interactions that players think this game should have after their experience, and they could be potential features or mechanics that complement well with the structure of the current game. The test will be done online through either Teams or Discord, and matching is made based on availability of participants. There will be a total of 4 sessions, and each session will try to fit as much rounds of gameplay to gather as much data as possible. Before the session, our facilitators will introduce necessary background knowledge. During the session, a 40-minute playtest will occur, where ideally 5 to 8 rounds are completed and note-takers taking notes. After the session, there will be 20 to 30 minutes of time for resetting the environment, conducting interviews, and reviewing data collection as a team.
Here are some of the equipment that will be needed for the testing. Each participant will be expected to meet the following minimum spec requirements. They will need a Windows 10 PC, an appropriate graphics card, sufficient hardware and RAM storage, a standard keyboard and mouse, and we'll also ask each participant to have Core Engine properly installed and updated so they can run the game properly. And ideally, the gameplay process will be streamed to Teams or Discord with optional face recording. This is some information about our participant sample. Our sample size will be 8 people, and there will be 4 pairings that will be randomly made, and each pairing will be competing against each other in the game. We'll mainly be recruiting students from the DAC305 class via Teams, but if there's not enough people from the class to volunteer, we'll ask some friends to fill in the missing spots. These are the 5 scenarios that we'll be looking at during the testing. The first one is the player presses the launching button too soon or too late. The second one is the player's gear top slows down. The third one is the player's opponent's gear top is too fast. The fourth one is the player's opponent's gear top is near the edge of the pit, and the player's gear top is farther from the edge but close to their opponent's gear top. And the fifth one is the player's charge meter is empty and they've used up all of their charges. Underneath each scenario, we've included some of the questions we'll be asking ourselves while looking at these scenarios. Next is our evaluation. So we'll be looking at subjective and quantitative metrics. Some of the subjective metrics will be one survey that will be sent out prior to session to each participant, and one survey that will be sent out after the session to each participant. We'll also be interviewing each participant during the sessions, and these are some of the quantitative metrics, like how much time it takes to complete each game, some observable wins and losses, how many times they use each ability, how many times they click a button doesn't work in game, and how many times they get a perfect launch. These are some of the example survey questions that we'll be adding in the surveys prior and after the sessions. And here are some of the roles. So the roles for this checkpoint are underneath each person's name. And we'll also have one operator for each player during each session and one note taker or observer for each player during each session. And the roles for the test are next to the person's name. And this is the end of our presentation, and thank you so much for watching.